I'm Lisa.
And I'm Cryss.
And this is Three of Skeins.
Fridays.
Oh, I like that.
Which is the chatty cousin of our regular Three of Skeins podcast. So, not all of our Friday videos are going to be strictly, knitting, yarn, crochet related. Case in point, today we will be talking about some movies we've been watching because we have a free trial of Showtime. And let me tell you how my free trials usually go. Usually I get the free trial. Mm-hmm. I watch like the one or two things I was already interested in, maybe scrape up another couple of things or like watch a series or something. And then for the rest of that trial period, I don't really do anything with the app. And I always end up feeling like even though it was a free trial, somehow I like wasted the opportunity. So I decided to do something different this time. We have Showtime for 30 days. I decided I'm going to try to watch 30 movies on Showtime.
I wasn't doing that.
Because I really want to get something out of it. Now, the funny thing is we also have a free year of Paramount Plus. And I was like, does that mean I should try to watch 365 movies?
I voted no on that. Okay, let me tell you.
I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably not going to do that. But I'm definitely trying to get 30 days out of Showtime. And I'm just past the halfway point in terms of the time. And I have just watched my 15th movie. So in terms of time, I'm doing okay. But I am going to have to double up on a couple of days if I want to get in my 30. So we're going to talk about what we've been watching, how we've been trying to exploit the heck out of our free trial for the time that we have it. So Lisa is just doing her own. She's just randomly watching movies all lackadaisical.
But you know what? I like to have a movie on while I am knitting. Let's say I wanted to do some focused knitting time. So the movie itself acts as my timer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a couple of hours or an hour and a half or whatever number of minutes in of just working on my project. So the first one I got to talk about, I absolutely love this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That was the movie that we got the free trial for. That's always how it goes. So that was why we got that trial.
We watched it. It was super weird, super wonderful. I actually loved it. Actually, I'm going to watch it again before the service goes away.
Liked it. I can't say that I loved it, but I do feel like I need to watch it again. I feel like
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it was insane. It's very funny. It's very charming. I like that at its core, it's really a story about mothers and daughters. It's about families. This one family, their personal drama kind of gets mapped to the universe at large. Yes. And it's kind of playing out on this existential scale, right? And I thought that was a really cool, fun idea. I don't know that it always worked, like all the way through the movie, but I think the cast was really great, I think their performances really sold this idea. It was very enjoyable. I recommend it. It was enjoyable, but I don't know that I loved it. I liked it.
I loved it. I also saw 2 werewolf movies, as a matter of fact, that were in complete opposition. American Werewolves in London and Werewolves Within.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too.
Now, American Werewolf in London, it was bizarre. It was a strange experience.
You haven't heard of it. It's a movie it came out in 1981.
Yeah, from the 80s.
And it's on Showtime. It's listed under the heading classics, like, the films have like categories. And that is how I have heard of this film. Like most of my life, it's considered a classic film. And it, would come on TV and I would just kind of like lose interest by that first commercial break. And I never managed to actually get through it. But I'm getting a little desperate now. So I'm watching some things that I'm like a little not completely sold on, but I tried it and
it was bizarre. At the end, I know I was like, what the heck did we just watch?
I had a whole other ending written in my head and mine was better.
Now, Werewolves Within, on the other hand, is a new movie. It's one of those kind of horror comedies that really struck
American
the right
Werewolf
note.
in London was supposed to be one of those too.
Yeah. It was just
it didn't work. It didn't work.
It didn't work for me either.
But Werewolves Within, I don't know his name, but the actor who played the lead, if you've seen Veep, he played Richard.
Oh, that's right.
He's so funny.
Yes.
He is he is a comedy gem. He is so funny. And the movie is about this small town where there's already like this conflict in the town over a proposed was not mining, it was a gas pipeline, a gas pipeline project. So people are already kind of at odds, but then they come to believe that there's a werewolf in their town, and this one particular night things just go crazy.
Yes.
And it is fun. The comedy succeeds in this particular movie, and it was silly. It's absolutely silly fun. It's a popcorn movie, something to just throw on some popcorn and put on your pajamas and watch it before you go to bed. I highly recommend that one.
And Mom picked Midsummer.
I knew that wasn't for me. I came in like halfway through while they were watching it.
I had seen it before, but I watched it again with her, and yeah, Midsummer.
You know, it's one of those stories that's supposed to be like human horror, you know, man's inhumanity to man and all that stuff, but it just, I don't know.
It fell flat for me.
It didn't work.
Speaking of falling flat, American Jihad. You'll want your time back. That's all I can say about that movie. It was slow paced and built to nothing. You know, I can go with a slow paced movie if it's building tension for me, but it didn't build tension. It didn't build tension fast enough. And then when you get to the end, you're like, moving on.
I didn't see that one.
I did. I was like, speaking of older movies, I had actually never seen Beverly Hills Cops when it was new. That wasn't Showtime? No. Yeah, that was Showtime.
No, that's Paramount Plus.
It's on Showtime too, because I just looked at Showtime.
I'm almost positive that's Paramount Plus.
No, I literally just looked.
I don't think that was on Showtime, but okay.
Okay,
because that's not on my list. It would be on my list if it was on Showtime. That wasn't Paramount Plus.
Maybe it's on both.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, anyway, I saw Beverly Hills Cops and I loved it.
I mean, we're just talking about movies. We can just talk about movies, but if we're talking specifically about Showtime.
Okay, but anyway, that's what I thought. Moving on.
It's so hard. Y'all don't know. Y'all have no idea.
Just look.
Lisa, I'm almost positive it's not on
I just
Showtime.
looked to see what I had watched, and I was like, okay, let me show you.
On Showtime.
On Showtime.
Okay, so we're literally having an argument in our video right now. Okay.
Okay. And I'm just going to look it up right quick. There it is.
Do they have 2 and 3? I could.
Yeah, they have 2 and 3 too.
What's that on Showtime?
Yeah.
Then I'm up to 16.
Oh, see? You're doing better than you thought you were doing.
This is good news.
Did you watch the second one?
No, I'm not going to watch the other 2.
No.
There's 3 Beverly Hills Cops. It's one joke. You don't need 3 movies to tell it.
The first time through, the joke was funny. The performances were really... It was a fun little movie. And the soundtrack. I did not know how good that soundtrack was.
Pointer Sisters, Patti LaBelle. I mean, yeah.
And everybody who was alive in the 80s knows this refrain. Doom, 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 doom. That's all you have to hear. And it's like, yes.
Yeah, if that was Showtime.
Yeah, that was Showtime.
Then I'm past the halfway point.
You might need to review and make sure you captured everything.
Because I could have sworn that was okay, all right.
And so Crystal had mentioned she had watched a documentary the night before. I was like, I haven't even looked at the documentaries. So I picked one called Gringo. OMG. You know what? I was riveted.
I wasn't going to watch that. I saw that mess listed and I wasn't going to watch it. And then she put it on because I knew exactly what it was going to be. And that's what it was.
Yeah. If you ever had Norton Antivirus, it's about the guy. McAfee. Why do I keep saying Norton?
I don't know.
I must have always used Norton. If you had McAfee Antivirus, it's about the guy who built the original McAfee antivirus. And sold antivirus software to the world, really, for the first time. I mean, they showed news reports where the newscasters were actually explaining what a computer virus was because it was all new to the general public at that time. And how he went from making a lot of money in tech.
And he was always weird. When he
Hmm.
ran McAfee, he was weird. There were
Yeah,
like orgies in the office.
things were happening. And he eventually left the United States, went to Belize. Now, I would hear little stories about him in the news now and again. I knew he had run off to Belize, and things went south once he hit Belize. And it's the story of what occurred with him.
He lost his whole damn mind.
Yes, yes, he did.
And eventually he just becomes a rapist, a murderer. He was on the lam for a little while, but then he did an interview with Vice.
Hmm.
And that's how authorities caught up with him.
But I watched the whole
Oh, and
damn
then he
thing.
came back to the U.S. and ran for president.
Yes, yes, he did. Hmm. The Libertarian Party. 2016, I think that was. Yep.
Yeah.
This is a wild, wild world, okay? And when they say truth is stranger than fiction, they're absolutely correct about that. But though that was my Showtime viewing since we've had our um, free trial. What else you got?
Oh, lordy. So I started with X, which is this movie. It's set in 1979 and is about a group of people who rent this little cabin. It's a cabin in the woods type story. Rent a cabin to film a pornographic film, and bad things happen to them. The wages of sin were death.
Wow.
But
Okay.
it didn't work. It's supposed to be a horror movie, and I hate self-referential crap in movies. And so there's this point where two characters are talking about the movie Psycho and how the movie changes tack halfway through, and one of the characters says, well, yeah, that works, you can do that when it's horror, and they're setting you up for this movie changing
Mm-hmm.
tack. And you don't have, if you have to explain your movie to me during your movie, it's not a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. You should have paid the writer more.
So X wasn't for me. Yeah. Then everything ever always. I watched this other movie, like supposed to be a thriller, I guess, called Another Girl, about this girl. It is about a serial killer with the worst, stupidest, most long game MO I've ever heard. Like, what do you do when you're not killing people? Stare at your navel?
He was thinking about it too
Why
hard.
do you have nothing else to do? So basically, he. I'm just gonna tell y'all about this. Don't watch it. It's stupid. Um, he publishes this book that's supposed to be about, like, kind of like a Lonely Girl 15 type of thing, where some of y'all aren't old enough to know that reference, but she was this YouTuber for a minute, but then she turned out to be a character, a production. But he writes this book about this girl, and she has this crazy life, and then one day she just disappears, and supposedly the book is finished by her mother, and says, like, oh, my daughter's missing, can you all help me find her? And so this girl who reads the book reaches out to I don't know where she even finds the email address, but she's reaching out to someone, she's talking to them, and she receives contact from the girl saying, no, I didn't disappear, I just wanted to fade from public life, and I'm married, I have a kid, blah blah blah. So they become pen pals. And meanwhile, this girl that we're following, she is going through her own personal drama. She's got issues with her mother. She's been sexually assaulted. She's got all kinds of terrible things going on in her life. And she's trying to get her life together. And so, she's finding solace in this pen pal she has. And finally, they're going to meet up. And, along the way, things aren't adding up. Things aren't making sense. Some of the stuff the pen pal is saying, can't be verified. All kinds of stuff is just, there's red flags everywhere. Like, Toro. Red flags waving. This stupid girl is ignoring them all. So she finally goes to meet up with her, and we don't actually see what happens. She opens her hotel room door, and someone bursts in, and that's the last we see at first. And now she is missing. And presumably, now we see at the end of the movie, other girls have been writing to the same mysterious person, and now they've started responding to one girl. So apparently, this whole cycle is going to start again. And it's just like, really? So you spend months just to kill one person. Where do you live? Are there no other people?
Mm.
I didn't understand who is doing this kind of like setup to kill someone. This serial killer could not possibly be a thing. And so I was just,
sir, your plots are too stupid. Too stupid.
I mean, like, Scooby Doo made more sense. I just, no. Mm-mm. So, yeah, that was a disappointment. Let me see if I can find one that was good. Werewolves Within was good. I liked In Between Girl. In Between Girl was a coming of age story. And usually when I hear the words coming of age, I go, but I actually like this one. So this one is about this girl. Her life is turned upside down when her parents announce they're getting divorced, and dad, he finds another girlfriend, and the girlfriend has a daughter who's about the same age as this girl. Her name, our main character's named Angie. I'm terrible at names, but so Angie's world is rocked by her parents' divorce, and she's feeling like jealous of her father's relationship with the stepdaughter. And she also has this unrequited thing for her male bestie who has a girlfriend, and the girlfriend's supposed to be like Miss Perfect, and she's very popular on the internet and whatever. And she starts having a torrid affair with her male bestie. And we see how that plays out and the consequences for her. And what I liked about the story is that, one, there were consequences for her. It all comes tumbling down at some point, and she actually has to deal with, what she's done. And she does. And it doesn't all have, it's not all like a perfect happy ending, but she survives it. She made mistakes, she moves on, she learns lessons from it, and she actually changes some of the things that she's been doing because of what she's been through. And for me, that's a coming of age story, because we don't always see the consequence. We always, it always works out in the end. And for this girl, it didn't all turn out perfectly, but her perspective changed. And so she did grow a little bit.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was just a charming, quiet little story. There's nothing terribly exciting about it, but it was good. And this character was really cute, and it was funny, and I liked it. Then I watched this thing called Lamb.
You watched that?
So I haven't heard of A24, which I guess is a production company, but I have heard of a number of the movies that they have made. They're very buzzy. So Last Black Man in San Francisco was one I knew about. The Farewell, which I also watched. These are movies I had heard about. And they have, I don't know if it's all of them, but they have a lot of A24 movies on Showtime. So I watched Lamb. Because I thought it was supposed to be kind of like a horror movie, kind of weird. I might almost call it magical realism.
Was it done poorly or done well?
I can't decide.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's a thinker.
Yeah.
All right, I don't mind a thinker movie.
It was really quiet and
strange.
It was very strange. The cast wasn't big. It was basically just this couple, and then at one point the husband's brother comes to visit. And so it's about these two people. They raise sheep, and they live out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, and it's in Swedish, by the way. Thought I meant mention. They live out in the middle of nowhere, and they raise sheep. And one day there's a lamb born, but something is strange about this lamb, and we don't know what is strange about the lamb at first. Like, we don't know if it's like sickly or it's injured or something, but for some reason the couple brings it into their home, and they're kind of like hand raising it. They're bottle feeding it. They end up putting it in a crib in their bedroom. And I started to suspect what was up with the lamb. And yeah, that was it. I honestly think the description, though, the movie that's on Showtime is a little bit of a spoiler. If you don't, yeah, I think this description has a little bit of a spoiler. And if you hadn't read that description, the end of Act 1 would have been the big reveal. But I had already guessed what was up with with their lamb. And so the rest of the movie is fallout, and the husband's brother is the first person who comes to their home and finds out, because they live in the middle of nowhere. And he's the first person who comes and finds out their secret, basically. And it was just very strange. It was interesting. I have to say that. It was interesting, but it was weird, and I just don't know how to feel about it. It was one of those movies that stopped very kind of abruptly from my perspective. but I don't know what more they could have done. I don't know what else could have come after that moment.
Okay.
So
I'm not mad at that kind of movie.
yeah, I'm still sorting my feelings on
It
that
keeps you
one.
intrigued.
Yes. Um, Dirty Tricks. I recommend this one highly because this
Oh,
mess is crazy. It is a documentary about a cheating scandal that rocked the world of international bridge playing,
that's right, the bridge one.
like the card game, bridge. Because that's the thing. I didn't international competition in bridge. I didn't know. So apparently, this guy from Israel was some sort of like math prodigy, and he could have gone into tech, he could have gone into finance, but he ends up becoming like a world class bridge player. And then at one competition, he is accused of cheating. And it basically takes 2 years to come to any kind of resolution about whether or not he cheated. And people are taking sides, and it literally becomes like this international like sleuthing effort where people are watching videos of his gameplay and trying to figure out what kind of code he might have been using, because you're not supposed to talk to your partner during the game. And so people are trying to figure out how he might have been communicating with his partner. At one point, a particle physicist gets involved, testifying on his behalf.
Yeah, actually, I want to watch that one. She talked
it
about it so much. I'm gonna watch that
it
one.
was crazy, but it was fascinating. I mean, this I don't know anything about bridge. I've never played. Um, it sounds like spades on steroids, um, and this was just an interesting window into this whole world that I never knew existed.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually recommend Dirty Chicks highly. Contractor was just is Chris Pine shooting people. I don't even really have anything to say about it. Um, El Gringo, watched that one. Toll Booth was another weird story about this guy who's been hiding out from organized crime for many years in this little small town in Wales. He operates a teeny tiny toll booth where the toll is something like 40 pence or something like that. And then people find out where he is, and all kinds of craziness ensues from there. And it was just okay, just because it's kind of like every other movie you've seen like that,
Mm-hmm.
where someone's been hiding and then their past catches up to them. That is the whole story. um the one thing that I did like about it, whether or not he faces repercussions for all of the stuff that happens in the movie, hinges on this one character, this police officer in this town. And I think it was worth it, just to, the whole thing is leading up to what choice is she going to make. And we find out at the very end. And I did like that. I thought
Oh,
that was a nice twist on it. But as far as like most of the movie, how it plays out,
you know the beats.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I finally watched Moneyball, which I didn't really have an interest in, but I am scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I'm trying to get through 30 movies, all right? And Moneyball is about this guy who basically introduces statistics into assembling a baseball team. So he's the general manager of the A's. Yes, the Oakland A's. Now, don't ask me about sports, y'all. And he's losing his three best players to a team with way more money, and he has like this minuscule budget, and he has to put together a team that can do something. And he ends up hiring this Yale graduate who majored in economics. And that guy has read this book of like this theory this guy had written about baseball, and how you can use statistics to determine players who are undervalued, who have a skill or something that people are overlooked just because they are somehow atypical. Like there's one guy who throws funny, and people
Oh.
just didn't like his form when he threw. And one of the characters says, this guy could be making $3 million a year, but we can get him for like 280,000 a year. And which it did bother me that their whole plot hinged on undervaluing people. So these are people who they believed were worth more money, but they were going to get them on the cheap. But we're not going to even get into that aspect.
Mm.
But it kind of offended all of baseball that he was trying this. They thought the game was about heart, the game was about what you feel in your gut. And here he is just bringing in like black and white hard numbers, decimal points, and into the game, and nobody liked it. But he ends up having to fight to prove his theory. This guy, he really wanted one player to be like their first baseman, and the coach was like, no, because he didn't trust the stats. He felt like, I know who should be first baseman. So he goes as far as, the general manager goes as far as to trade every player on the team who could possibly play first base.
Oh wow.
To force the coach to put this one player at first base. And that was really the start of the coach having to go along with this plan, because it really hinged on playing certain people in certain roles on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach wouldn't go along with that, and he got forced to, and we see how it all turns out. Apparently this is based on a true story.
Oh wow.
I feel like if you were into baseball at all, this is probably a really exciting movie for you.
Yeah.
For me, just the idea of him trying to shift the way people looked at this institution
and the exploitative nature.
Right. That was interesting enough to keep me watching it, but meh. If I wasn't trying to squeeze 30 movies out of Showtime, I would never have watched it.
Okay.
The Farewell is a movie I'd heard about. It's about this girl whose grandmother is diagnosed with cancer, and she's reminding me that I'm talking too long. Okay. This girl's grandmother is dying of cancer, and the family fakes a wedding to go back to China and visit grandma one last time. And that was another one of those A24 movies. This one was just okay for me. But again, a common theme with these movies is just like this weird kind of abrupt ending. So I was planning to watch The Last Black Man in San Francisco. We'll see how that goes. And then I have The Family. The Family, De Niro, Pfeiffer, mob family hiding out. Again, past catching up to you goes exactly the way you expect it, except without that interesting twist of, well, what does this one cop do? So.
Did she also do one, Married to the Mob?
Was that Michelle Pfeiffer? Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah.
But that was about her trying to get out.
Yeah.
This was about the whole family was out, but it was because De Niro had, testified against other people. And so the mob had a $20 million bounty on him. And he's hiding out in France. And so there's the kind of like fish out of water culture shock type of thing too. It felt very flat, and I think it was a little offensive. I don't know. But yeah, so that was most of my 16 movies that I've watched so far on Showtime. And I have no desire to subscribe to Showtime.
No. But if you have any interest in any of these, take a look. And if you can get a free trial if you don't already have Showtime.
We got ours through Roku.
Yeah.
So if you have a Roku box viewing television, I don't know if the offer's expired yet, but
yeah, but they have a rotating cast of offers for free trials. So give it a shot. And if you've seen any of these movies, let us know what you think in the comments, all right? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Have a good week.
Bye.